Hello, good day, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to the maiden edition of the Africa Digital Future Virtual Conference. My name is Richard Joseph, and I'm your host on this edition. Today, we gather around to assess the readiness and the impact of coronavirus upon the African digital ecosystem, and we are assessing the readiness of entrepreneurs, innovators, and technology enthusiasts or lovers about their preparedness for the next phase of the future of digital Africa. Right? We are streaming live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at Digital Times Africa. Feel free to share your comments, reaction, photos, and any takeaways you probably will gather from this conference. You can share them using the hashtag Beyond the Pandemic, hashtag Africa's Digital Future, hashtag Digital Times Africa. I'm sure that the hashtags are going to be shown on your screen. Do well to interact with us live across Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. A quick, a quick reminder. This call is hosted on Zoom for participants. So if you're joining us via Zoom, kudos to you. Thank you for being on the call. If you have questions you would like to ask the guests based on the panel sessions that will be churning out, feel free to drop those comments in the comments box or the chat box. Do the same thing on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook. Just a quick roundup. We'll be having a welcome address soon, but take your time, have fun, network, and let's get to meet people on Zoom, especially for those on Zoom. Get to meet people. We'll be back in about 5 minutes. I'll see you around. Hang up. Enjoy yourself.
Hi, good afternoon to everyone. It is a pleasure and an honor to be called to give the opening remarks for this wonderful event. My name is Edward Akani, and I'm the managing associate for Ghana Tech Lab as well as a director for Digital Times Africa. I would just want to speak briefly so that we can delve right into the event and hear from our amazing and insightful panelists. Somewhere last year, we had COVID-19 coming and disrupt a lot of things, including work and then our usual lives. And one of the things that I've always said is that when you have challenges, that is when you realize that they are great opportunities. And so I once read about the Japanese, and then in the Japanese language, the word challenge means opportunity. And so I always say that when you see a challenge or when you experience a challenge, that is when you should realize that it's an opportunity for you to build something or create something that would be a blessing or impact the lives of people. And so I believe that the incidence of COVID-19 really explained or brought forth the benefits of digitization, or COVID-19 actually made us realize how important being digital is. And so through the pandemic, the opportunity to become more digital with work and then with our usual lives became apparent. And so when you think of things like shopping, I mean, during the pandemic, a lot of people were on lockdown, and so they couldn't move out. They couldn't do the usual shopping that they would have loved to do. So they had to resort to online platforms to buy their groceries and then a few other things that are important to them. Apart from grocery, I mean, we can speak of payment as well. So a lot of people were able to get onto some payment platforms to be able to make payment for the usual goods and services that they want to access. And then in addition to payment, you can speak of communication or work or productivity. So Zoom became very popular during the pandemic and was IPO'd a few months before the pandemic. And so it just speaks to the fact that challenges can really bring forth the importance and the relevance of digitization. And so I see that now that we are almost through, or should I say, now that we've become more comfortable in a certain sense to the pandemic, what lies ahead? How do we sustain the things that we learned during the period of the pandemic? And then how do we also grow and become better in terms of our work, our lives, and then all the things that matter to us? And I would say that it all boils down to knowledge or experience in terms of knowing how to continue using the various platforms that we use. And so businesses can take advantage of all of this, and then they can also grow and become better at what they are doing. So I see that this event is going to help us in terms of giving us the knowledge and the experience that we need to go forth in terms of building our businesses, and then understanding how we can make the best use of the opportunities that we have around us. So I'm looking forward to hearing the panelists speak about working from home, how to improve working from home, how do you still take advantage of financial payment opportunities, and then how do you also take advantage of e-commerce platform now that we want to still take advantage of some of these learnings from the pandemic. So I look forward to this exciting event, and I hope that you're all excited to be joining us, whether it's from Facebook or it's from YouTube or it's from Twitter or it's on the Zoom. I'm just going to say that you are welcome to this event, and I believe that we're going to have a good time. Do network, and then if possible, pick some points that you can learn so that you can go back and use that for the things that matter to you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Edward, for the warm welcoming opening remarks. We really appreciate it. We are behind time by 5 minutes, but we are very sorry. Fortunate incidents of technicalities or technical issues. But we're going to zoom right into it. Edward set the ball rolling beautifully for the conversation. And we have Blessing Abeng on the call. We are so privileged to have Blessing joining us all the way from Nigeria. We have Rita Na Kode Clote, also going to be a panel moderator for Grow with Digital. We'll have PCTV join us soon, probably a couple of issues with internet or not, but we're looking forward to having Peace join us soon. So we're going to just roll into the panel session, Grow with Digital, and welcome Peace Itimi, Rita Na Kode Clote, and then Blessing Abeng. We'll have them in about 30 seconds. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nakode, and I'll be handling the first panel, which is Go with Digital. So I have with me on the panel Blessing Aben from Ingressive for Good. Sorry, she is the director of communications, and also I have with me Pete Intimi. Sorry if I'm unable to mention the names correctly. She is a growth mentor at Seed Starters. Seed Start, sorry. So, hi, ladies. I'm really happy about our panel. That is an all ladies panel, and we are pushing the digital space.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Um, so, sorry for that. Just a quick one. We have a couple of issues with the audio, but and Peace is trying to get. Okay, we have Peace right now. Thank you very much. Just give us 30 seconds to wrap this up, and then we'll be back.
Okay, no problem.
It's connected. This one. Yeah, okay. Is it work?
All right, we are back live. Very deep apologies for the issues with the sound. I mean, it's our maiden edition, so we expect some of these challenges, but we're looking to better them as we move forward. Right now, I'm going to hand over to Rita to continue with the panel moderation. Thank you, Peace, and thank you, Blessing, for joining me.
Thanks for having us here.
Good afternoon once again. Sorry for
Hi.
the delay, ladies.
It's
Questions.
okay. It's fine. That's okay.
So before we started the conference, I asked a couple of people what digital meant to them. And basically, a lot of people were saying digital is the opposite of analog. So, ladies, I want you to help conceptualize digital in this conversation and also explain to us what digital growth means to you. So, I would start with Peace.
Hey, can you hear me very well?
I can hear you.
Just nod if you can. Sorry. Okay, perfect. So what is digital? Digital is simply, like you said, right, or like the user said, digital is simply what is not analog. Digital technology is technology, right? It's anything that requires access to tech, it's anything that requires access to the internet, it's anything that can do with electronic devices. So when people think about digital, they start by thinking about the internet. They start by thinking about technology devices that they can use to access things that they couldn't access before without technology and all the internet. And when you think about digital growth, you can think about it in two ways. Digital growth could be growth of the industry of the internet, growth of technology as a whole. And digital growth could also be how can you leverage on digital, how can you leverage on the internet, how can you leverage on technology to either grow yourself or your business. And it's amazing that because it's about the internet, it's about the tech, there are no boundaries, there are no limits. There's literally no cap. You can do anything from anywhere. You can speak to people in any place at any time. You can build any kind of business you want to build. You can build any kind of brand that you want to build. You have access to things you didn't have access to for free. Yeah, that's what digital growth is, and that's what digital sort of like entails.
Okay. Thank you very much, Peace, for the insight. Um, Blessing, please, can you also share what you have to say with us?
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, Peace already said everything, but if I could just give one simple definition of digital, for me, it would be the fact that digital is a borderless magnifier. So, beyond the fact that it is something that is not analog, it is just that beautiful tool that helps us, or that beautiful platform or group of platforms that help magnify most of the offline things that we currently experience. And so, yeah, literally, borderless magnifier plus everything else that Peace said. And the opportunities are endless now with digital. So you don't have as much excuses as you used to before. If you had to travel from here to London to send a letter, you don't have to do that anymore. You could just send an email, you could just make a call. Things are so much interesting. I mean, look at us right now doing this event. So, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, digital.
Okay. Thank you very much, ladies. So, if we are to say digital goods, what does it mean to you personally when we say digital good? So this time I'll start with Blessing.
Well, I would say it's literally growth on digital, but I don't like to think that digital growth exists in isolation from offline growth. You have to have a level of offline growth to be able to experience digital growth as well. As I said, it is a
Okay.
magnifier, not a magician. Digital is not magic. Digital is magnifying. So it's taking what you're currently doing offline and sort of like um, magnifying that effort, making it bigger, helping you reach more people. So you have to have the thoughts, you have to have the product, you have to have something. There has to be something to work with before you leverage the digital platforms to. So for me, that would be digital growth beyond just followers and things like that. It's just the ability to multiply effort.
Okay. So thank you very much, Blessing. Peace. Hello, Peace. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yes, please. I can hear you.
Awesome.
Okay. So I was asking what digital growth to me means to you personally. If you had to say digital growth, what does it mean to you?
I mean, it's the same thing to me that it
Okay.
means to Blessing. Digital growth is, I almost want to use her word, it's a magnifier, but let me not copy and paste too much.
You're
For
allowed.
when I think about
Favorite.
digital growth, I think about, I think about opportunities. I think about access. I think about no boundaries. That's what I think about when I think about digital. The fact that I have access to people, places, work, opportunities that I would not have access to if I was just confined to my Lagos
Okay.
apartment. I think about
Okay.
access, that I can reach people with my content, with my work, with my brand, anywhere I want to reach them in the world without having to be confined to where I live in Lagos or where I live in Nigeria. And that is what stimulates growth. The access that you have, the opportunities that you have, and how you use them is how people grow. So yeah, that's how I think about digital growth.
Okay. So thank you very much. So with COVID coming in and the whole how things are being done have been changed, I think the style of work and then new job opportunities are coming up and then also jobs are changing, different styles. So what do you think is the future of of work now with regards to post COVID? So let me start with Peace.
Um, the future of work is anything that everybody decides is going to be at different times. So people say, or when COVID just hit, like when it was at its peak last year, everybody was like, it's going to be remote work forever. And now COVID is, things are getting better, and employers are beginning to call their people back to office, like, yo guys, your enjoyment has finished, come back to work. So I think that work itself would always evolve and always change. But what's going to be constant is people's ability to do whatever kind of work they want to do from anywhere that they live or they want to live at a particular time. So I could be in Lagos and I work for a company in US. I could be in Bangladesh and I work for a company in Belgium. I could be in Africa and I can build for a Latin American market. So that's what the future of work is that you don't have to be confined anymore to just the space where you're locally located or where you are domiciled at, that you can do anything. You have the access to build for any market, to work for anybody, for any company in any market. Would we have more remote companies coming up? Of course, more remote work will show up. Are we going to have more flex roles, people working 3 days in the office and 2 days from work from home? Yes, we're going to have that. Are we still going to have companies who are just like, do your work and let me relocate you from Nigeria to China? Yes, we'll have that. So a mix of relocation, flex work, work from home, anything. But what will be constant is that no matter where you are as a human being, as long as that you're skilled, you would have the access and opportunity to build for any market, to work for any company, any market, as long as you can position yourself in that way.
Okay. Thank you very much, Peace. Blessing, can you please also share your thoughts with us?
Okay, so I think two factors really affect the future of work. Like when you talk about future of work, you think about two key factors, which are adoption of artificial intelligence, as well as expansion of the workforce. And this initially used to be scary for a lot of people when you think about the fact that machines are going to do your work, and not necessarily robots, but the normal computers that we're used to, but this time apps and things like that. Right now, there is a very popular platform that I love and I use all the time called fireflies.ai that is currently helping you record and transcribe your meetings, meaning that it might feel as though some secretaries might be getting out of work or being pushed out of work. And so with more digital inventions and innovations, chances are some jobs are going to become less relevant because machines can do them and do them even better than human beings. And this shouldn't scare anyone. It should just inspire you to upskill. So the future of work, yes, is really determined by these forces of AI and expansion of the workforce, but there will always be the need for human element. The machines can't work on their own. They will always need a human being to sort of help or put things in place or put things in perspective. And so it's just important for us to always figure out, how can I be better? Wake up every single morning and say, what am I going to learn today? What new thing am I going to learn today as the world is evolving? There's always new information. There's always new updates. Apps are being born every day. People are just creating things. And because there is now borderless information, as P said, just see how quickly vaccines were made for COVID. Less than a year, fastest vaccine ever made, probably. So you want to be able to be part of the change, and you don't want to be obsolete. You want to leverage digital and go with the flow, as opposed to, in fact, being the flow as opposed to just standing there still. Because as you're standing, the world is moving way ahead in front of you, and that's the power of digital, the speed. So in addition to everything Peace already said, just those are two things to think about. And with the expansion of workforce, there will still always be need, and there is a population increase, there will always be need for human elements. So your brain is like the most powerful tool that you have. Don't just leave it to be dormant. Exercise it, learn something new, be in touch with trends, be in touch with what's going on, learn new skills, update yourself, update your skills. If after a month or two you haven't learned something new about your area of specialty, you should pinch yourself and go do something, because chances are very soon one app will replace you. I'm kidding, but I'm kidding. Okay, if you're asking a question, I can't hear you. Just thought I should say that. Okay, Peace, can everyone still see and hear me? I'm just freaking out a little bit. Okay, perfect. All right.
You're not alone in this world. I'm here.
Okay, Cynthia, you back? Or should I and Peace just go on and gist? Because we're friends and
Because you get.
yeah.
But let me ask you a question before Cynthia gets here. What would you
Okay.
say has been the best thing that access to digital has done for you in the last 12 months?
Huh. Oh my God. In the last 12 months,
Yeah,
I have so many. I actually
pick
have so
one.
many. This is so hard. Okay, God. I don't even know whether to pick Seth Godin or pick like the fact that we both spoke to Seth Godin and that was
We can
amazing.
we can we can mutually decide to pick him.
You know,
You get.
that was super amazing. Just being able to meet people that you've always just known from afar, just never really thought you have the capacity to see. So that was really interesting. Versus which other one? I think just the access to people calling me from different parts of the world, from Serbia, from different parts of the world, and like, oh, blessing, I saw your work. It was amazing, this thing you did. And I think that's super interesting. Just the idea that my work can just be replicated across the world. And while my community grew plus all that, I'm just really excited that my why dramatic?
Celebrity.
Why are you like this? Why? But yeah, I think that was super interesting. What about you?
Seth Godin. Since you say that, that's definitely one. Just having access to someone that I probably would never meet. I mean, maybe I will when I do travel, but if I am not in his state, there's no way in like my wildest imagination I would have felt I would have a 20-minute conversation with this guy. And then something else that comes really close is just knowing that even when the world stops, quote and unquote, I still had the ability to work and make money because I knew how to leverage on digital. That was really great because some people lost their jobs, right? Some people had to change real fast. But for some people, it was also a boom. Like I tell people a lot that last year was like this for different people. Some people had it really bad that they lost jobs and lost their businesses. But for some people, it was the time where they made the most money because they had leveraged and built on the internet and on the and on online. And so that's just like amazing. So it's like this is where the
Hello.
future is at every point in time.
Well, here we can hear you. Is
Okay, I'm
fighting
sorry.
here.
I had a little bit of technical challenges.
Oh, no,
That's
I
that's
was.
fine.
we continued. We were fine.
So I was saying earlier that during your conversations, you both mentioned skills and then how people should upskill. But I work with a lot of young people, and most of them feel confused about career choices, skills, and everything. And with COVID coming in, a lot of jobs have become obsolete, as you said. So, what is your advice to young people who want to upskill or accelerate their skills to be able to fit into the new style of work?
Okay, who do you want to answer you?
So, let me start with this.
All right. So I think every human being is a blank canvas. Like we come into this world empty, 100% empty. And it means that that's like a myriad of opportunities, whereas like blank checks, we are all blank checks. So we can do anything and can be anything. And that's just the first mentality you need to have. You shouldn't feel pressured by what your friends are doing. Or, I mean, it's difficult. Imagine having a friend like Peace, it's difficult. It's fun. You don't feel pressured by what everybody else is doing. You're special, you're unique, and you have your own part. So if you find something that you find interesting, or you notice the problem that you've been complaining about over and over again, and you feel like, I really want to change this thing, go and learn about that thing. Especially when you're in your 20s and below, these opportunities are endless. You can literally learn anything. You could learn a new language. You can learn how to cook something. You can learn anything. You can be anything. So don't just feel like, oh, this is where the money is. That's why I'm going to be in tech. Or this is where the money is. That's why I'm going to go and learn graphic design. You don't have to do things because that's where the money is. Many years ago, it used to be medicine. Everybody thought, oh, medicine and law. Everybody would die on the line on medicine and law. But look at life now. People are doing entertainment, music, even doing music are making more money than medical people. So you can't know. You never know what's going to work. But what you know is you're going to be able to, you want to be able to add value or leave this world a little bit better than you met it. And so if there's a problem you encounter, or there is something you find yourself consistently complaining about, or something that you really really like and enjoy, just go learn that. Learn as many things as you can learn. The more you learn, you begin to find out, oh, there's this thing that I really, really like. Oh no, there's this other thing that I really want to specialize in. And then you begin, like, you can now specialize. So I always say, don't feel the pressure to niche down immediately. Niche later. But you niching is like filtering. I feel like I'm talking long, but niching is like filtering. And so you can't filter one thing. You can't just pick one thing and filter it. You need to have a mixture of things to be able to filter. And that's what niching is about. So have a myriad of experiences, and then you can now filter out and choose the one thing you want to specialize in.
Okay, thank you, Blessing. Please, can you kindly add yours so we wrap up? Thank you.
I think that Blessing did an amazing job answering that particular question. So I'm just going to add just something really too. Blessing said that don't move where the crowd is, where you think that money is, and I found that to be very valuable advice. A good example is right now in tech, everybody says that it's the tech bros that have money. If you're a software engineer, you just hammer overnight, Lamborghini will just come to the front of your house. In a sense, that's true. But I've also found, and from personal experience, that you don't have to be a software engineer to make the kind of money that they make, to work for the kind of companies that they work for. You just have to decide on the skill set or the path that you find most valuable, that you really like, that you are willing to go in depth in and pour all your mind and heart there. And if you position yourself and differentiate yourself, you can get in kind of opportunities that these other guys can. So if you are not a software engineer at heart, like you're not ready for the kind of bugs that will keep you awake for 12 hours or 1 week, or you are not a product designer, or you are not a musician, you just know that it's not for you. There's no need to rush into it. Find the one that is for you and just go heads on. I promise you that if you give your own path the best, you will get access to the same kind of opportunities that the best career path supposedly can give people access to, right? It's very important. And also, you don't have to struggle so much to find out one thing. It's okay to explore and try. I have tried learning how to code. I'm like, let me even try and see if it's for me. And then I realized that, peace, this is not for you. But I would not have known distinctively if I didn't try. So it's okay to explore. But when you find the thing that's for you, don't get carried away by pressure or by the crowd because they say there's money or there's fame somewhere else. Stick to that one that you found is for you, and you will still be able to get the same kind of opportunities and money and fame and influence or whatever comes from those careers.
Thank you very much, Peace. So, before we leave, ladies, do you have any last words you would like to share?
Be like
You can start
Blessed.
with anyone.
I didn't see that one coming. Are we really going to be doing this be like peace thing now? Really?
All the time.
All right, please go first. What's your last word for our
My last words is wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever school you went to or did not go to, whatever certificate you have or you do not have, nothing can limit you unless you agree that that thing should limit you. Like you can become anything. Like Blessing said, you're a blank canvas. You can learn anything. You can change your life. I can be a digital marketer today, and tomorrow I can wake up and say, you know what, peace and light digital marketing, I'm not doing it again. And I have the permission to do that. So don't restrict yourself because you have been known by something in the last 2 years or because you already have a brand in one area. Don't limit yourself because you didn't go to the same schools that the guys that you think are doing well went to. Don't limit yourself because you didn't have first class. Don't limit yourself because you didn't have money. It might maybe be a bit harder at the beginning, but with technology, with the access that tech, with the digital, the internet has to offer, you can literally be anything if you just give yourself to it. So go you therefore and excel.
and be like peace. All right, so for me, my last words would be I don't even know which one to give. Okay. All right, so let's start with this. Start where you are right now. It's so easy to find excuses. It's so easy to say, oh, what if I fail? Oh, I don't have X, I don't have Y. Just start where you are. decide this is where I am now. I want to get to point B, start at point A. Because if you think about it, if Mark Zuckerberg didn't start when he started, we probably wouldn't have Instagram influencers and all those interesting things. I like to think that my decisions are tied to someone else's life. So the fact that I choose to do something now is going to add value to somebody else. And so I don't want to be the reason why someone did not succeed. I don't want to be the reason why someone else did not have a great experience, right? And so I'm going to do my possible best to add value to people the best way that I possibly can. But beyond that, also do your best to separate failure, like separate failing at something from being a failure. The fact that you failed at a project does not mean that you're a failure. And so don't be scared to fail. Failing is just one of those things. It's like when you trip and you fall, you can't just lie down there and say you're never standing up again. You need to trip, fall, stand up, and move, right? So those key things I feel are very important, and I hope that helps someone out there.
Hi,
That helps
Blessing.
me.
Hi, Chris. Thank you so much. I'm really much glad to have you guys. It's an honor to have you guys on our invitation. And it's nice to see you. Hope you're good. Okay, so with that, we will come to the end of this session. We are 5 minutes late, but we deeply apologize for the issues. Again, we are streaming live across social media, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Right. I'm gonna say hello to Peace and Blessing later on. You guys do want to have a blessed day, right? Thank you very much, Peace. Thank you very much, Blessing.
Bye.
All right, we're moving into the next session, and that will delve into digital policies and the future of Africa's digital space. Once again, my name is Richard Joseph, and I am your host on this edition of the Africa Digital Future Conference. I have with me here Mr. Mohammed Zakaria, who will be taking us through the panel discussion on digital policies. Right, and joining us online is Cynthia Antwi and Arnold Safo Kantanka. Right. In the next 30 seconds, we're just going to zoom into the conversation and just have Zachariah take us through it. Thank you very much for your patience and your kindness. We are deeply humbled.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Arnold. Hi, Cynthia.
Hi, good afternoon, and how are you doing?
I'm good. Good afternoon, and happy to connect with you both here today.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Arnold. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for making time to join us today. I am in the person of Mohammed Suhin Zakaria, a tech and policy lead at Ghana Tech Lab. And with me here is Cynthia Antwi, a tech development expert, and Safu Arnold Kantanka, who is also here a youth development expert and also a business strategist as well. So with us today, we will be discussing on digital policies in Africa and the future that we have at hand as young people, as tech persons, and what holds for us moving forward into Africa's future. So I would like Arnold and Antwi to introduce themselves before we continue from here. Thank you very much. So we start with Arnold.
We'll go ladies first.
Okay, thank you. My name is Cynthia Antwi. I work in ICT for D or ICT for Tech. I mostly work in the health space, and I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Good afternoon. My name's Arnold Safa-Kantanka. I'm Chief Executive of Future of Ghana. And I'm a business strategist for an organization called GB Group. Within Future of Ghana, our focus is very much focused on the second generation and creating the right kind of platforms for them to realize the potential to connect globally.
Great. Thank you, Safu, for making time. Thank you, Cynthia. So, to begin with, Africa is known to be the continent with the world's youngest population. We are also the continent that is known to have or be the leading in growing towards digital banking. And we are also the country with the world's largest natural resource reserves. But the question we keep asking ourselves as a people is, where are we heading towards? And what lies ahead. One of the things we as development experts and technology persons believe and know is that technology is the way forward for us as a continent, Africa in general. But then, what has been done and what progress has been done till date? We know that the World Bank, in one of its publications, had said that Africa would need close to 100 billion United States dollars to be able to connect the entire continent to the internet. And that would help bridge the interconnection gap we have as a continent and help a lot of people to have access to different markets, grow economic growth, trickling down to different economies, and would have a one united continent where people would be able to trade and develop. But then the question still remains, what have we done till date to that? What are we doing towards that? And if we had done that, would we have been faced with the situation that we find ourselves, that is with COVID-19 coming in and a lot of African governments having to lock down, people not being able to work remotely as a continent? What lies ahead for us? So today we'll be delving into these, and I would like to ask Cynthia to give us a perspective on the amount of money that is required to be invested. That is close to 100 billion to connect Africa, and close to 2 billion, that's about 3 billion United States dollars, to put in place the right policies and also change some of the regulatory requirements that we have existing in Africa. Do you think it's a worthy investment? And do you think we would have to wait for the pandemic to come before a lot of African governments would have to wake up to this call? Thank you.
Thanks so much for that great introduction. Gosh, I think waiting, absolutely not. We've waited before, and this is the result that we have now. I think, however, it should be highlighted that the policy making process, and especially with regards to ICT, it has been slow, but there has been some progress. Over the last 20 years, we moved from having no actual policy to having some, high-level policies and strategies dotted around here and there across the continent. I think when it comes to where we are now, there have been a lot of strides by different organizations, being at the bilateral level, being the World Bank and co., and even at also on the continent represented by AU, to come up with strategies and policy positions on what the next steps look like in the next 5 to 10 years. Unfortunately, though, in the past, over the last 2 decades, we've encountered a situation where IT was seen and acknowledged that yes, it's, it was maybe lip service, you could say, that yes, we know that it can, make the change and all those things, but the actual commitment to invest in what that looks like varies from very, very fast for progressive policy to almost nothing. And even probably even being adversarial to the whole thing. So I think, we are at a stage where everybody has to put their effort in, irrespective of which corner you sit in the broader ecosystem, to support whatever initiatives are in place or are in force to make sure that that realization happens. There's different ways. I think that the government in of itself faces numerous challenges in the way that it has been structured, in the way that it is designed, in the way that they talk to each other, even between ministries. There's poor coordination. There, things are working in silos. Yes, you will have this broad overarching thing. Even Ghana, for example, has a 20-year-old or maybe just over 10-year-old ICT policy, which has not been updated. But if you look at the current things, possibly stands as relevant, still relevant. So maybe not necessarily a need to improve on it, but just to show that there's so many things moving and just coordinating it as a unit poses its own challenges, not to mention issues of financing such activities and resourcing those activities to move, because we do have capacity issues by way of lack of human capital and brain drain and all that stuff. So I think there's progress, and I think we just have to jump in and move forward.
Great. Thank you very much, Cynthia, for that wonderful submission. So, Arnold, I would bring you in from here. What I would like you to help us with is, so speaking from the youth perspective, the Vice President of World Bank in charge of infrastructure indicated that Africa's development or youthful population would have a job gap of close to 45 million by 2015 to 2035. Then the question we have to ask ourselves is, are African governments really committed to being able to bridge this gap and create opportunity for these group of people? And do you think we are really getting there? Would we have to wait on African governments, or we are at a point where we need to start initiatives as young people across the continent without necessarily sitting and waiting on our government?
Yeah, really interesting question. Well, if you look at the function of a government, it's about creating an enabling environment, right? And I think every country or every citizen of their country will be able to, or will have a different answer to that question. Should we wait on our governments? I don't think so. I think we need to be proactive. But if you look at what the governments have done, we look at Ghana, there's been a few policies that have been put in place. I think Ghana was the first country to launch, was it the first digital finance policy? And that was during COVID. That was 2020?
Yeah.
But if you look at policy and we look at what was happening in 2014 with the African Union Convention on Cybersecurity and their Personal Data Protection Bill, right? All of the countries who are in as part of the AU were working towards something. But if you look at the details of that document and you look at what countries actually signed up to it, 14 out of the 55 members actually signed it. And the ratified version, only 8 of them signed it. One of them was Ghana. So I don't think it's a question of specifically policy per se. And I don't think we should really wait for the government, because we'll wait a long time. And that's just a clear example of, if we had if all the governments came together and agreed, we'll have a mandate for the continent, potentially, even though each individual country will have their own individual policies as well. But that was 7 years ago. But if we were organized enough, maybe, this whole job creation could have been accelerated during COVID, because you would have had a clear pathway. And I feel that now, when you've got multinationals like Twitter coming to Ghana and Facebook having a footprint in Nigeria and trying to build the internet system or investing into the connectivity of the internet across the continent, they're coming in where the framework's a bit fragmented. And that's the biggest worry for me, or one of the biggest worries. So I think that as a group, just like we're trying to do with Future Ghana, we need to organize and mobilize ourselves in the right way. We need to create focused cohorts of individuals that can really come together with knowledge and skills to create the right kind of pathways for job creation, because that's what it's about, right? And it's beyond lip service, because even 2020 February, I was invited to Brussels for a conversation looking at how the EU could better participate in the migration and development within the continent. And I was part of a steering group. and there's only 5 of us around the table. And young people were not considered as part of this roadmap until we came. I represented our organization. We sat down. I presented our research report, which we did in 2018, which was factual, which had data, which had evidence of why young people should be part of the conversation. And it dawned on me that how can a roadmap be produced? This is just an isolated example, but a roadmap be produced and young people not really be considered as part of that. It speaks volume. So we really need to mobilize and organize ourselves at the policy level, but also on the ground level, and have more conversations like this. Have more groups like Future of Ghana. There's so many other independent groups out there. But I think what we need to do is just find our strategic fit about what we're trying to achieve, build a robust governance structure within that, so we can actually create growth. Because we've been doing this for 10 years, and we've been learning as we go. But I think that, yes, to your question, we do need to create more groups. We shouldn't really wait for our governments, but we shouldn't be ignorant to the fact that the government is there to create the enabling framework. And we need to keep on banging on the door. And let's not forget that the continent has the youngest population. And if you look at what's going on around the world, globally, young people are creating uprising. They're not creating uprising, but there's an outpouring of emotion from young people that are now saying, I don't really respect what you're doing as a government. You need to lower our tuition fees, you need to create more jobs, and they're going out there protesting, whether it be about race issues, whether it be about job issues, whether it be about education issues. And that's going to continue to grow. But specifically within the continent, young people will be the swing voters in the next few years, whenever the next presidential elections happen in each respective country. But if we can mobilize ourselves, if we can really organize ourselves, we can make critical change. But it requires us.
Great. So Arnold, thank you very much for that. So speaking about that aspect of our governments and the young people across Africa, then the next question that comes into play in digital policy work is, we have situations like the scenario that happened in Nigeria where the government had come out to ban cryptocurrency. And the question is, what lies ahead for us? Because it was clear that a lot of young people in Nigeria had taken steps on their own to be able to catch up with the world, only for their governments to come in to provide or set as a stumbling block to such development and growth. We had an instance where Gokada was stopped from operations in one of the states because there was a bike hailing policy that was being introduced, sending a whole startup that was employing a large number of people out of business. So the question is, what lies ahead for us? Because yes, I agree with you that we need to still take action without necessarily waiting on our governments. But then here's the case: we've also taken actions, and our governments have also come back at us, and they've even hit us very hard. What do we do? What is the way forward? What do you still propose, even in this or under circumstances like this? Because we know other countries, Rwanda is a good case study where they have taken initiative that is towards supporting the startup ecosystem, innovation, digital drive. What happens? Why aren't other countries also learning from them? And why do they rather have to suppress the young people trying to move their countries into the future that they are denying the young people? Cynthia, you'd like to give us a take on this? Arnold, afterwards, he give us 3 points. Yeah.
Sure. I think the policy making process, I'm sure you're aware, is a very challenging. Challenging is not the right word. I think having the right mix of people to make informed decisions about a group of people will always have its limitations and things that fall through the cracks. I think one of the things that I tend to advise organizations now proactively is have conversations. And I agree completely with Arnold. You need to build a critical mass that can have a voice that is heard. And through that voice, that is how you get the attention of the policymakers, or wiggle room into the table at the policy making table. I think it's very important that you bring in the regulators as you are rolling out, because if we look at technology innovations, we don't just get out and start. We do a proof of concept, we do a pilot, we measure, we do. But regulation is always this thing of I'll deal with it later, or I'm not so sure how to go about it. And sometimes you may not have the resources to get proper help. But as these examples have shown, if you engage with the regulator in good time, you are at a better advantage. I think Zipline is a very good example of that, where they actually invested in a position in the company that deals with government relations to deal with those issues, because regulators, they regulate what they know, and what they don't know, the knee-jerk reaction is shut it down, I don't know. Telehealth is a very good example of a situation. Now, COVID was there. Almost every single government under the sun, irrespective of African governments, was like, we don't do telemedicine. You need to have a physical, session or interaction between the doctor and patient. Okay, I can't go to the doctor. Now what? Now, all of a sudden, you see rollbacks. And I think the Americans were the first to go on that. So I think, yes, we don't have to wait for opportunities like this, but at the same time, we have to be very cognizant of what's happening around us and seek help where we need to, and also group together to be able to make noise in the right corridors, as I would say.
Thank you, Arnold.
Yeah, again, I was looking through the African Union's their document regarding the digital policy, and I just did a search. I just searched for blockchain. That's what I did. I searched blockchain, and it came up twice in this document of nearly 100 pages. Twice, blockchain. But it's quite interesting. So my thoughts on the pushbacks. Look, it's going to happen in business. It always happens. Whatever you do in life, it happens. You apply to certain universities, colleges, you don't get in, you get a pushback. But what do? You get up, you keep on moving, and that's what you have to do. It's life. It's just called life, And sometimes it's big, and sometimes it's in the public eye, but sometimes it's not. But you've got to be resilient, especially in this day and age. If you got a pushback, or you lost your job during COVID, what you gonna do? You're gonna have to find a solution some way, somehow. You're gonna have to put food on the table some way, somehow. You don't know how, but you will have to. You will find a way, and that's called being entrepreneurial. And inherently, as Africans, we are entrepreneurial by force. If you're residing in Nigeria, you don't have consistent power. You're entrepreneur by force. You will find a way, some way, somehow. The bit talking about cryptocurrency today. What is it? Ethereum, the token, it reached an all-time high, and I think its market capitalization is greater than PayPal. It's insane that I'm not too privy with what each country is doing when it comes to blockchain technology, AI and ML, machine learning, and all of those things. But we need to really, really, really stay ahead of the curve, because we have a very good opportunity. I read that, in Ghana anyway, because that's my focus, IBM was supposedly working with the Lands Commission to digitize the process of obtaining land. If that's true, that's phenomenal. I doubt it is, but if it's true, it is phenomenal, because things like that need to happen, because it'll lead to more transparency, you reduce corruption, and it just make things more efficient. The digital economy is a driver for inclusive growth and job creation. We know that, but we also need to be very aware of security, and cybersecurity is so key. And that's why one of my fears was, talking about Twitter and all of these big companies coming in. We need to really think about, how we're protecting the individuals and protecting our information, our culture, our heritage. They're just going to come in and just take everything, because things like voice technology, if they don't have the right data, a lot of people will miss out, on smartwatches or Google Homes, so to speak. Because they don't have our voices or our native language, these kind of things as a continent, we might miss out on these. So we need to start developing things like that. And we need to be careful as well. There's an EU-AU agreement, Digital Economy Task Force, because the EU wants to help the AU to develop a framework. Like, I'm not sure what the EU really knows about what's going on the ground in AU. So we have to be careful as well about how we allow these things to, manifest. But it's about job creation, and I think we need to be more inclusive, especially with blockchain technology, cryptocurrency, because it's not a disruptor. It is the present future.
With me here was Cynthia Antwi and Arnold Kantanka, both tech experts and also conversant within the development space and shaping policy across Africa, doing works in their own space and also trying to help disrupt technology across the continent. So I'd like to take your last words on this, Cynthia.
Gosh, I could go on and on and on. There's so much to say. I think that the message I want to tell everybody out there is take space, take up space. And I do echo Arnold's concerns that having, now that everybody knows that in the next 20 to 30 years, we would be the youngest population on the planet, meaning that the biggest growth is coming here. I think the cocoa situation and the Gari situation already is starting to show you signs of what's coming. And I think the responsibility is on each and every one of us to take up space and be present where conversations are. They say if elders are talking, you don't talk. But this one, you have to talk, because it's more about the youth and how the world is going to be very different. Even now, the world is very different. Yeah. And a lot of old things that were there before are not there now. So take up space and, yes, go into the conversation.
And talk. Arnold?
Let's hear from you. I'll say the same thing. It's about being thought leaders, in creating our own spaces, having a critical mass and realizing that young people are the present future. And we just need to position ourselves so that we can, build a legacy for our children and our children's children that will be representative of the opportunities and the needs for the continent and beyond.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Okay. So it's been amazing having you both today, and thank you very much for making time to contribute to this discourse. And to our lovely conference participants, we wish to say a very big thank you to you, and to let you know that from our panelists that we need to continue to strive. We don't need to let our governments continue to serve as setbacks for us, and we need to keep exploring, because in every situation there are going to be challenges, but we need to still keep pushing our governments to be able to adapt. Government are also doing their bit, and so according to Antwi from her policy side and development work, that we should encourage them, we should motivate them, but we should still ask them for more as well. And in all, as young people, we do know that we can't sit and wait for our governments to come and lead the cause. We still have to be the leaders while they join us, because it's clear that they are not, some of them are not ready to start. So we will start, they resist, and probably they'll join us. Thank you all, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. That's a great session, very insightful. I mean, there's a lot to take in from there, with a focus on digital policies and what the future of digital Africa looks like. Right about now, we are still behind time, but we really apologize for some of the glitches and issues we've had. We are streaming again on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. Feel free to share your comments and reaction and photos and any takeaway you probably gather from this conversation, because there's so much inside. There's so much to learn about the African continent and the digital future of Africa. We'll be moving to the next panel session, and joining us on that session is Belinda Dakwa, who is the what's she again? I think Belinda is the community or associated Ghana Tech Lab, and she's the national coordinator for the Ghana Ladies in Tech community. And also joining on that panel session is Daniel Owusu Kwabina, and then Mr. David Kankam. Hope I got the name right. I'm so sorry if I massacre your name, but Kindly forgive me. Kindly forgive me. Before we head in there, I would like to remind us again that we are live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And please, if you have any challenges on the Zoom, because I realize that some of the participants joining on Zoom have a couple of issues with the audio, with the video, and everything, right? We're deeply sorry for all of these challenges. We're doing our possible best to have those resolved. But if you can switch over, I'm sure that one of the organizing team members is on hand to add the links to the streaming platforms or the social media platform where we are being streamed on. Kindly hop on those platforms and join us live on the conversation. You can enjoy this. It's scintillating moments, and we're so excited about the future of digital Africa. In the next 30 seconds, I'll be handing over to Belinda to moderate the panel together with David and then Kwabena. Look forward to having you.
My name is Belinda Dakwa, and I am the Community Associate for Ghana Tech Lab. I also coordinate the National Ghana Community here at the Ghana Tech Lab. And joining me are Kwabena Owusu, who is the Ecosystem Associate here at Ghana Tech Lab, and David Kankam, who is Head of card businesses at eTransact Ghana. It's amazing to have you all here. Thank you for joining our session. Can you say that again?
Sorry, please, Kwabena and David, you have some issues with your microphone. You a lot of feedback, so we can move forward on our behalf. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Okay.
So while we wait for Kwabena and then David to kindly work on some of the issues as it affects their sound quality, I would just like to give you guys a brief description about Digital Times Africa. Well, Digital Times Africa, it's an organization, a digital media organization, particularly with a focus on creating a platform that accelerates the innovative or entrepreneurship journey in Africa, right? So they serve a platform through websites and they curate content for digital audiences, tech lovers, and the likes. I hope we are ready now, David and Kwabena. Do we have your sound great? I hope there are no distractions on your background because that might probably affect the quality of our viewership. Hello, Kwabena. Hello, David.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, David. Kwabena,
okay,
can you hear me?
Thank you. Hello. Hello, Richard.
Okay, then now I can hand over to, I can hear you loud and clear right now. I am handing over back to Belinda to take us away on this panel session. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Richard. So before we delve into the conversation, I was trying to get much information on what digitalization is all about, as the whole conference is about digitalization. And for me, one thing I picked was that digitalization is simply inculcating technology into our daily lives, into our businesses, into whatever we do. But I would want to hear from my panel. David, can you share with us what you think digitalization is?
Thank you, and a very good afternoon to US, online, and wherever they find themselves. So really, digitization, I mean, as it is now, is making substantial digital investments and also exploring technology strategies that will be the differentiation factor between businesses. So basically, if you're a business as it is now and you are not into one form of what do you call it, technology as in terms of digitization, I believe that you are back in the 80s. You really need to catch up with our world today. So basically, the digitization is investing and exploring in technology to advance business. It's as simple as that.
From you as well. Okay, so Kwabna will be joining us shortly. So, Kwabna, I was asking, what you thoughts? What are your thoughts on digitalization generally?
Okay, thank you. So for me, just in 2 words, making things easy and accessible.
Great, great, great. I like that. Okay, so our theme for today is scaling digital innovations beyond the pandemic. And the first thing I would like to ask is, so far, what do you think Africa has done, or how well has Africa done with regards to digital innovations? Have we done well enough? What are your thoughts on this? David, kindly take that for us, and then Kwabna will come in after that.
Okay, thank you. I believe Africa as a continent is doing well, but there's still more to be done. I mean, when we were all faced with COVID-19, it was a serious disaster for all of us, and a lot of businesses had to, innovate, as it were, because as the situation allowed it, it's either you go digital or you shut down your business operations. And we saw a lot of businesses going digital. Banks introduced and they made a lot of expenses on their e-banking or their digital banking platforms available for customers to use. We realized that restaurants were now doing delivery. Some of them that didn't have app had to build app and invest on softwares and apps that will facilitate delivery of their services here and there. Churches even had to innovate in the sense that they had to come up with Zoom or digital or virtual, as it was, services, and also way of making payments like church contributions, like offerings and tithes. You would then have to use digital platforms to make all those payments. Even hotels had to implement one form of digitalization to scale up their business operations or the other. So I believe Africa is doing well, but in terms of digitization, we still have a very long way to go, but we are not doing bad at all. Hello, Belinda.
I can hear you. Thank you for the submission.
Okay, so with respect to what we've done or what we're able to do as Africans, first of all, the pandemic came as a wake-up call to every individual and businesses, and also exposed us as a continent to know that there's this big gap in there, and even in terms of access to what connect with others. Against this background, a typical example is when this issue came up, other entities or governments were able to pivot and make good ways of it towards achieving their set objective for their social program. A typical example being in Togo. So they run what they call the Novosis program, where the government was using digital cash transfer to help beneficiaries of their social welfare program. So in this, individuals that had those informal workers who do not have access to certain things, we are now using those avenues to solve them. Against what David added, most businesses also iterated whatever they are doing in view not to lose business or lose their market, but able to scale up and meet the needs and demands of the situation. So we did well. But one of the interesting challenges that exposed us most is our educational system in terms of remote learning. If you go through the survey that was done by the Association of Commonwealth Universities before the COVID or before the pandemic, the institutions that they engage were saying that they use online um, platform to do the teachings. But post the COVID or within the hike of COVID in May, they just realized that accessibility to majority of their students is a challenge. Therefore, they were not able to meet whatever they said to do. So that there's a good side that help other businesses emerge, whereas there's a bad side that a lot of business was folded up.
Okay, so you mentioned challenge and you indicated the education sector. I want to know, what do you think is the greatest challenge or a number of challenges that Africans are facing? What is the problem? Why are we not able to, scale some of the innovations we have? Because David mentioned that we do have a long way to go. So right now, what is the challenge? We want to know what the challenges are before we even try to seek other pathways out of what we are facing.
Okay. So I'll pick it up and then we continue. So one, it's about the businesses building up what products to meet the market. Most businesses assume for the customers. Therefore, they might have a good product, but it don't meet the needs of the customer. Therefore, they will have what they call the early stage bars of everything. Like this is a good brand to follow,
Okay.
but within the first year or two, it starts dipping, meaning that the retention rate of the usage of that product or services dips down because there's a disconnect of the actual need that the design of that product or service was to be met. Then also in terms of coordination within the frameworks, also within what policies. If the policies are not right, if the structures are not right, no matter how good it is, and if you don't have a structured investment packages and dedicated resources, it would the hard work to push the brand or the product to meet the needs is there. But if these primary actors are not doing their part, or the key drivers are not doing their part, we'll just be operating in darkness.
Okay. So, David, can you also share what you think the challenges that are preventing us from scaling as Africa?
Okay, so one critical challenge that I see every day, especially in my line of business, where so I happen to work in a fintech where we do a lot of e-payment processes and transactions for companies, like for banks and for institutions and individuals that would want to make their life easy in terms of making transactions and in terms of making payments. One thing that I have realized is that people find it very difficult to change. When you introduce a technology or when you introduce an innovation, it's sweet, it's good, it's splendid. It has all the super features that will solve the need of the person. But then switching from the old or accustomed way of doing things to a new, relatively new way of doing things become a bit of a problem because, quote unquote, the person thinks that you are moving from your comfortable zone to uncharted, territory. That has been a major hurdle or a major challenge. But I think that in all of this, if providers of digital innovation would be clear as to what just as Osu was saying, if the providers of digital innovation should be clear as to what exactly the person is going to get, or what exactly, or how, why the person should shift from the old ways of doing things to the new ways of doing things. For example, let me give a typical example. We have seen here in Ghana, we have seen the emergence of virtual banking, or so to say, digital banking. A lot of banks in Ghana have introduced Internet of Things into their banking systems or their banking operations. Now you can sit at the comfort of your home, even in your bedroom, and be able to open a bank account just by dialing the WhatsApp number and then talking to a bot. You can open a bank account, you can perform transactions on your WhatsApp with the bot. You can go to Facebook, open an account with a bank without walking into the bank. But hitherto, it was not like that, And I believe that if providers, as I said earlier on, providers of these innovations come clean and come clear and let people know that, all right, it is not that bad shifting. And then we all agree to the fact that we have gotten to a point where we have to scale up our businesses. So if I am a business person or I'm an entrepreneur and I'm used to doing things the very old way, and I meet a client who tells me that, look, I can have a solution for you. For example, I used to have my clients come to my office and make payments of their goods and services that I provide for them, But then now I tell them that no, they don't have to come to my office or they don't have to go to the bank. They can just dial a short code and be able to pay me from their bank to my bank, or just go online and be able to transfer their funds from their bank to my bank. That would be super. That would be splendid. The only problem is that if we can change from the old ways of doing things to the new way of doing things and embrace digitization, that is the way to go. We can scale up our business operations.
But let me give. Thank you, David. So I was saying that I have a personal problem. I agree with you that we should be able to adapt to change. But then, for instance, for the past week, I was having issues with my banking app because anytime I logged in, I was unable to get access to, transact for my business and all of that. And it was a great challenge to me. And so if somebody like me, I agree to, try this app or use an app to make my work easier. And then I faced a challenge like this. What are some of the solutions that we can work towards? What are some of the ideas we can come up with to make some of these challenges that we face, it takes it away and then it makes all of our lives convenient and easier. So if you could share some of the solutions to some of these challenges with us, I think it will help.
Okay, thank you, Belinda. One of the excellent ways that digitization came with, or one of the excellent ways that digitization came with, as I mentioned earlier on, is virtual assistants. The banks has come up with virtual banking platforms where you can perform your banking operations online or by dialing a USSD or on an app, right? But in case that you should, just as you said, your personal experience, should you go through a problem being able to perform a transaction, there are virtual assistants. These banks have virtual bots that you can chat them just like you are chatting a normal human being at any point in time. And they have been programmed in the way that whatever your query is, whatever your issue is, they will be able to help you around it. Sometimes there are FAQs that you can go through and say, oh, this is my problem and this is the solution. Or you can chat the bot. What's the name? I think Fidelity has one, they call it Ukwa. UBA has one, they call it Leo. And I think APSA also has one. A lot of the banks do have this virtual assistants that you can chat them and then let them know your problem or your solutions. And some of these, there are hotlines that you can also call and then provide, engage a customer service representative and let the person know that, okay, this is a problem that you are facing, and the person will be able to solve the solution for you. Of course, we understand that it's a new territory and there are issues, and these are the ways we can get.
Okay, so moving away from fintech, but now we have people building solutions, creating items that solve our problems during the pandemic. We had Ghana Tech Lab, for instance, building thermometer guns, automated Veronica buckets, and all of that. Now, once the pandemic is over, and I hope that it will be over soon, some of these solutions we built, will they be sustainable? How do we make them relevant after the pandemic is over?
Thank you. So yes, it's been done to meet a need, and also to stay in business, you need to understand the market and to understand the needs of your customers. Therefore, when you're able to do that, you now be able to iterate the solution you did earlier to meet the need in view to stay relevant, and also in view to stay accessible to be used. Against that background, you also need to get the policy to be aligned with certain sector regulations as against the post engagements of the services and the products. There also, with the usage or with the launch of AFTA, which is the African Continental Trade Platform, it's also going to be a good avenue to scale up. So that also comes back to you, the business. How ready are you to scale? And scaling doesn't necessarily mean success, but how then do you scale in view to stay relevant and attain to it? And also, you need, as I said earlier, a dedicated pool of funds or investment to sustain the distribution channels of the products and services. If not, you can't reach a wider market. You still be operating within the smaller markets which already have your products. Therefore, they only buy the new ones when it's being needed. If not, you need to get a wider market to reach.
Okay, David, I would like to hear from you on this. In the next 5 to 10 years, what do you think the future looks like for innovations in Africa? In the next 10 years, what do you think Africa is going to be like? Will our digital innovations be relevant still?
Sure, the digital innovation will be relevant still, and I can say that in the next 5-10 years, there is going to be splendid digital disruption in our continent, Africa, because of what we have already started doing. Let me refresh your memory a little bit, and let me just give you a picture. So there's a cameraman who is sitting on a helicopter and viewing shooting a video. So it's an acting scene, and they are shooting a movie. But where they are shooting the movie, it's down in a cliff, and this is way back in the 1990s, right? Just so you have a picture. This is way back in the 1990s. So down in the cliff, there's the actors there. They are shooting. The director is there, and the cameraman is up there on a helicopter with his camera, right? 10 years fast forward. The cameraman is no more in the picture. The cameraman is in the picture, but the helicopter is no more in the picture. The pilot is no more in the picture. And then what has happened is that there's a disruption in that atmosphere, and there's now what we call a drone. So it's drone that is being used to take the shots. It's drone that is going around, capturing every angle, capturing every scene, and all of that. We did not see this 10 years ago, but now it has become a reality. If you are shooting, this is how you have to do it if it is in an angle such as this. And as we see Africa today with business expansions and business operations, it will become a necessity, I believe, for every business to innovate. Because where we are going, if you don't innovate, as I said, your business is going to go down, or you're going to run out of operations, right? Because your competitors are going to innovate, which will force you to also embrace innovation. So I believe that we are going to scale up the digitalization process in Africa.
Okay. All right. Great. So, Kavna, my last question to you: for people who are actually looking to build their businesses, build their prototypes, and everything that is going to help scale our continent, what are some of the institutions or organizations they could easily come to aid in some of these activities?
Okay, I'll just start from home. Home being Ghana Tech Lab. So one of our key indicators or our goal or drive is seeding innovations and growing startups. So you can come to Ghana Tech Lab for us to have a discussion. Next, also that there are a couple of them, and now within the ecosystem being expanded, we have tech hubs across the regions that you can go
Yeah,
and have
yeah,
access to.
yeah. Thank you very much. Any last words for our audience before we leave? David, let me hear from you first.
Okay, so thank you very much. So just as Kwabena said, I would also want to say that for businesses that would want to, innovate, and businesses that want to make payments of their goods and services easy for them, I would want them to come to e-transact, where we can make life easy for them in terms of not just businesses, individuals who want to make payments easy for them. We have a very simple short code, *389#. You can dial it, and whatever payments you want to make, you can make that payment. We also have a prepaid card that you can use to perform whatever transactions that you can. You can load the card, move money from your bank account to the card, from your mobile money wallet to the card, or you can send money from your card to all networks. And then you can even go to an ATM. It's a prepaid card, not linked to any bank accounts, but you can still transfer money from bank accounts to the card and be able to perform transactions that you want to perform. It's interoperable and it works on the GIP interbank platform, which has been a solution for
Okay. So, Kabna, let's hear your last words as well.
Okay, just three things. Pivot around your business model innovation, then also build an ecosystem structures in view to help you scale. Then the last thing I'll say that understand the adoption behavior before you scale. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been an amazing one. Thank you all for listening in.
Hello, can you all hear me? Thank you so much, panelists, and thank you so much for awesome work, Belinda. That's beautiful moderation, and we got a couple of insights. By the way, let's just go up to social media. We have got a couple of comments coming up on social media. People are enjoying this. I would like to share some of the things that people are saying. Right? I hope we can all see. Yeah, that is Victor Malloy joining us from San Antonio, Texas, USA, and we have Michael Addo, who's joining us all the way from London. And I think on this panel, Victor mentions do not look to the government to create the change for next generation leaders. Be the change where you are with who you know and what you know. This is also excerpt rather from the panel session on scale of digital policies, right? Ari Akligo, who is also joining by YouTube, says very well said, Mr. Malloy. Always be the change you want to see. We want to see Africans owning up to changes that they want to actually implement. Rashim Peak says, I'm coordinating an Afrofuturist conference on August 14, 2021 at 10 a.m. I don't know what time zone that is because I have to check that out. But I'll love a few of you to sit on the African Technology panel. Oh, great. Rashim, you can reach out to the organizing team at Digital Times Africa for the Africa Digital Future Conference, and they'll be able to set you up with a couple of these people. Victor, okay, thank you very much for the feedbacks. Let's head straight into the next session. Again, my name is Richard Joseph, and let me remind us all that we are streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Facebook. Oh no, sorry, not Instagram. Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Sorry for that, please. Sorry for that. We will be diving into the next panel session, which will be focused on challenges around the African digital space and the future of digital Africa post-pandemic. It is themed digitalization post-pandemic. What stays, what leaves. Hang in there in the next 30 seconds. We will bring you an update. And joining me on that panel will be Norbert Jiwonu and Mark Allen. I sometimes find it difficult pronouncing his last name. I think it's Balsical. I think I got that right? But at that time, we'll have them join us. Give me 30 minutes or 30 seconds rather. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Perfect. Welcome. Good to see you, Erlen. Welcome to Norbert Jiwono. Fortunately, on this panel session, I am moderating. It's a privilege to host you too. Norbert is the CEO of Startup Accra and the co-founder of Startup Accra, which is an innovative space that seeks to promote the startup ecosystem within Accra. And Alan is the CEO of Bunch. I think, do I get the pronunciation well?
Perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah, Alan is the CEO of Bunch, and Bunch is an entrepreneurial ecosystem that trains startup businesses, entrepreneurs, innovators in Haiti. So joining us all the way from Haiti is Erlen, right? Let's get right into it. So digitalization, right? Post-pandemic, what stays, what leaves? First, let's examine what did digitalization, what did the pandemic rather bring to us in the front of digitalization? Erlen, I'll start with you, please. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. I was asking, what did the pandemic bring as a result of the influence of digitalization?
Okay. Oh, yeah. So I'm very happy to be here. Hey to everyone in Accra or wherever you are around the world watching this. Really a pleasure for me to tune in all the way from the Caribbean a few hours back and be able to be with you all and talk about the future of digitalization exactly in a post-COVID era. I think COVID has brought two things. I think the first thing, I've never seen so much thirst for technology. And I was very recently on a panel where there were people from Facebook talking about what would be the biggest new thing that they've seen since COVID. And I think one of the things they've seen is a lot of people are now more interested in learning how to code. A lot more people are interested in joining that digital force and creating new opportunities that they see. And what kind of opportunities are we seeing? I think being able to work remotely has definitely changed. As companies have gone entirely remote as a way of operating. And other companies are still struggling between some part of in-person and some part of online. I think anything that's happening remotely, whether it's through fintech, whether it's delivery, and mostly we've seen more and more people being online. So that's more and more people generating data. So that's going to be contributing to the advancement of data science and artificial intelligence. So I think these are new opportunities and new areas of enrolling new developers and more tech startups that are coming. And I think this is really, we're entering the real era of data. So what does that mean for the industry? I think I'm going to stop there for now, and we can discuss more about what those opportunities mean. But I will let my colleague introduce himself and also probably tell us what he has seen is the ecosystem in Ghana.
Yeah, that was a great start. So, hello, my name is Norbert once again. What stays and what leaves? Very interesting question. I believe COVID, despite the downturns COVID brought in, I think there's been some good sides as far as innovation is concerned. So, I mean, back then people didn't really appreciate what technology is, the value technology created until COVID came in. It was until COVID that, like he was saying, it was until COVID that companies had to transition to go remote, and they realized how much it saved them in terms of cost of operations and managing and optimizing revenue. Way back, it was something that we thought wasn't possible, but the advent of COVID is seeing some of these things being reality now. And not just that, I mean, it's like he also mentioned, there's been that quest and test for people jumping into technology roles, like trying to learn how to code, trying to build startups, and trying to secure funding so that they can be part of that growth. So in terms of like the future heading towards post-COVID, I believe there are enough a lot of opportunities that could be explored, especially looking at the future. For me, I'm more biased towards fintech. Sorry if most of my conversation will be skewed towards fintech, because it was until COVID that we came to appreciate mobile money, how people can make payments in a very seamless way without having any physical interaction. And I think that has been one of the things that I would forever live with post-pandemic. In terms of delivery, people moving logistics here and there, minimizing in-person interaction. I think these are some of the things that COVID has come to disrupt. And I think it's something that will live with us for a very, very long time. Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you. I think delivery system and fintech is probably something that, in emerging economies that they consider as something that they have already achieved. For example, Amazon is doing fantastic work in the US, being able to, to deliver in timely ways and being able to do same day deliveries. So these are like really extensive advancement in the US. But I think in emerging countries, like Ghana, like Haiti, we are just entering the era of this. And what does that really mean for the future of the economy?
Yes.
Bank actually in Haiti have launched fintechs during COVID. They find that there was a great opportunity to just, let's do more mobile money, but we still have a long way to go. But I think COVID really sets the road towards what is that going to mean, owning fintech for inclusion, but also moving logistics in a different way. But I think we still have a lot to do in the terms of logistics and the delivery systems that we already have all these problems. I think it's going to take a lot of innovation to see how we're going to move towards that direction. I absolutely agree with you.
Great.
All right. Thank you so much for your insightful contribution. Quite an interesting one going out here. Then again, talking about the advancements, opportunities that we can leverage on, right, post the pandemic. We've seen the revolution of digital. I mean, this is the fourth industrial revolution, right? And this deals with digitalization, like digital tools and services, and then green energy, right? And the pandemic has actually shown us the need and the necessity for renewable energy, as much as it had affected all other digital services, right? What are the opportunities for the future of digitalization and the future of digital Africa? And are we really prepared? That's a question we need to answer.
Yeah, I'm going to let my colleague go about Africa and then I'll follow up.
Yeah. What are the opportunities and what are we doing towards what are we doing towards this opportunity? For me, I believe there's a huge opportunity. Like I mentioned earlier, COVID didn't just come into halt economies. Okay. It came in to also create opportunities. I see the opportunity side of it. In terms of how prepared are we from Africa, for instance, you can see the roles of innovation hubs in driving digital skills training, investors playing their role in investing in startups, innovators coming up with innovative solutions. I mean, just to make sure that they are creating opportunities for everyday people in Africa to be part of that digital drive. So for me, it's very, very important that we started somewhere. We need to keep up the momentum. Surprisingly enough, if you look at the investment trends over the 5-year period, so I'll take 2020 and 2020 and 2029. So if you look at the African funding landscape, for instance, we did a total deal size. The total investment activities was around $2.5 billion. And during COVID 2020, there was just a marginal decrease. We did around $2.4 billion. In COVID, people thought, people were going to close their pockets. They weren't going to dash out money to startups and stuff like that. But that was when we saw momentum from investors giving out money to startups, because it was like kind of a fifth, let me say, industrial revolution. Let me put it that way. Yeah. For innovation to thrive. So you realize that now people are appreciating technology. The interest levels are very high. Even it's even supporting the drive towards financial inclusion. Especially back then, people didn't really appreciate what cash means, what digital cash means. But because of COVID, the advent of COVID, we can see people appreciating more of digital currencies. More of that transaction from that side. So these are things that are going to stay, and these are things that some few years back they looked very alien to us, and because of COVID, these things are here for us to appreciate them more and to constantly create value for people who need them. But I think we also need to invest more into people. We need to spread the word out more. We need more of conversations like this to get the message out to people so that they can appreciate some of the opportunities available within the ecosystem. Yeah. But I think as far as Africa is concerned, as far as Ghana is concerned, I think we are doing a great job. A good start for this year. And I think 2021 would be great. Yeah.
I think I kind of want to start by congratulating you guys. I heard the news about Twitter, opening a headquarters in Ghana. So that is really, really cool. And also it shows that the interest is clearly over Africa. And I think even before COVID, Jack Ma took a trip there. Africa has about 1.2, 1.3 billion people today, right? And technology only grows on people numbers. And I think it's been a couple years since the technology world has seen what Africa has to offer in terms of users, at least. And also because of countries like Ghana and Nigeria, where the ecosystem is thriving and we're seeing more and more startups coming up, it's clear that the opportunity of tech was already putting its eyes and putting the direction towards Africa. That's clear. So now the question is, how is COVID accelerating this? And I think COVID definitely is, because it's redefining a work location, for example. And I think that's one important opportunity for Africa, because now people can work from anywhere, right? Because of COVID, people are working from home. So people can actually work from Africa. So opportunity has never been so close to everybody today. So I think this is not just an opportunity for Africa, for anyone around the world. This is the time to position yourself as resources for the technology world wherever you are around the world. And I think access to internet is definitely going to be something that's going to be pivotal. And I think Africa needs to do more in terms of giving more access to internet. I know until today, we're still having issues in parts of Africa where people don't have access to internet. I think governments needs to work on their policies and really making sure that they're opening the space, whether for the private sector to come in or whether they can invest in infrastructure that can allow more people to be connected. Because the opportunities are in Africa. People can work from anywhere around the world. And I think also labor is quote unquote cheaper in Africa, right? So
Yes.
entrepreneurs and startups can be working on new apps, new solutions that can take over the world, but that can also solve for Africa. You guys have the numbers on your side. I think that's one of the biggest opportunities. You can definitely, in a country like Nigeria, over 200 million people, you can build a startup and be able to scale within your own country before you take over the world. I think Africa needs to be looking at these opportunities very seriously and see now what can we create for the world? What are the apps? What have we learned from a developing country standpoint that can solve some of the issues in advanced economies, things that they're not even seeing right now or they're not even anticipating for the future? And I think definitely education is an important key. We need to train more and more developers, especially on the new tech, AI, blockchain, augmented reality, all these new elements that are actually flourishing. And Facebook is begging for new developers to be using their platforms. That's why they're creating opportunities for them to come together, like the developer circle programs that you also have in Ghana, where more developers can get on these apps. So if you can be a pioneer building on this app, you are actually fresh juice for these big companies. And these are also opportunities I think you should look at. And if you are ecosystem builders, if you have hubs, in spaces like that, open your doors to these kind of opportunities because they are building the Africa of the future.
Can I contribute to that?
Sure.
Okay, nobody would like to contribute. That's fine. Let's go, Norbert.
Yeah. So I'll just pick your last pointers. I think in terms of digital skills training, I think it's one of the things that we are doing very well in Ghana, spreading the word as far as digital innovation is concerned. So for instance, for institutions like Ghana Tech Lab, I mean, we've been doing some works within that space, trying to drive digital skills to make sure that we are reaching out to the grassroots, getting people to understand the relevance of technology, so that they can become employable and get to join opportunities like what Facebook, Google, and other emerging companies are offering. So I believe the opportunities are huge, and digital skills is very imperative to this growth, and we need to teach enough people. We need to teach more people. We need to preach it more, and we need to create enough opportunities to absorb some of these people. I mean, it's not just on the side of training; it's on the side of advocacy to make sure that institutions are able to understand the impact and relevance of technology, so that whilst we are doing some of these training initiatives, while we are building the capacity, there's that we have the institution to absorb them. So I think it's a give and take scenario, and it has to do with how we are working together as an ecosystem to drive that growth. Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you. And every time I get the chance to sit down with friends in Africa, makes me feel that we're not alone. It's not just the US versus the rest of the world. We are all in this together, struggling, making sure that our government care about these topics and being able to build the platform so we can get to the future. And we should be looking into each other as brothers more than just focusing on Silicon Valley and all these things. Yeah.
So talking about education and upskilling digital Africa, right? What's the position of, what do you think the position of the youth should be towards embracing such changes that coming with the future of digitalization, right? How should youth be better positioned to upskill themselves and get access to this market? Because it looks like they are available, right? But now the question here is access to them, right? Are they going to the right channels or through the right channels to get access to the education, whatever is out there which is available? I mean,
I think I've never seen so much change in the job market in the past years. Young people today have access to so much knowledge. Even going to college now can be something that university system will have to adapt to, right? Because there's so much information available online right now. There's so many courses that are available online. You can sit down and be home and learn how to become a developer straight from home, leveraging resources online. I think young people are also embracing the movement. I'm seeing more and more people going online. I've seen people transforming their entire career from being lawyers or social workers to learning how to code and start a brand new career looking for jobs online. So I think this is something that the education system will have to adapt to. But also, we need to make sure we don't leave our girls behind, right? Make sure that girls get on the STEM train and be able to themselves learn how to enter this world because the information is absolutely out there. And I think people like you, and this is where, you guys who are organizing this type of event become relevant because this is a window and a space for you to tell everyone, do not wait for university degrees, do not wait for your college application. You can start from home. Just like you actually going to school from home, you being on these Zooms. I don't know how good Ghana has been on this, but Haiti has been really terrible. This whole online course type of life has been a real huge problem because of internet issues. But if you can be home and try to go to school online, you can also be home learning how to code from home. So our job is to make sure that people know about these things and they can do career shifts and create their own future leveraging technology and the digital economy.
Any contribution from you, Norbert?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think there's been opportunities now than ever. If you ask me, for me, I always say that the opportunities won't come to you. You have to go to the opportunities. Now you go to the internet, like you mentioned, and there are free courses that used to cost like tons of amount of money to enroll in are now very affordable that you can easily enroll in. And I think recently Commonwealth, in partnership with the Ghana Library Authority, gave out some free Coursera courses, scholarships to I think 10,000 youth in Ghana. I think these are some of the opportunities. Exactly, yeah, and I think these are some of the opportunities that youth should grasp, so that they can meet the needs of the new trends of work, of the future of work. I mean, now no one does business administration again.
Yeah.
Most of the roles are transitioning into business analytics. I mean, big data, UI UX, cyber security, blockchain. Those manual roles that now technology is disrupting. So I mean, there are a whole tons of opportunities out there for us to leverage. Okay. So that we can position ourselves to take advantage of some of these things, and it won't cost you anything. I mean, once you have your phone, there was a friend that used to tell me that he learns to code without a laptop. Okay, and now today he's a high-paying developer. Okay, earning like 5K USD a month. You get it. So if someone is saying that, they have no opportunities out there, that's honestly, that's a lie. Because there are a whole lot of opportunities out there. There are free courses on Coursera, Udemy. I think some on Plural site. There are a whole lot of platforms now that do free courses, and institutions like Ghana Tech Lab and other innovation hub across the country that run free digital skills training programs that people can take advantage of. And once you take some of these things very seriously, you brand yourself very well. You can position yourself to attract quality jobs, very decent jobs that would earn you a very good living. So, there are a whole lot of opportunities out there. Let's be very strategic about how we attract some of these opportunities. And we'll do great. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. It's rather unfortunate that's so much which time will allow us. It's so sad, but it's so sad. It's an inciting contributions. I literally was writing. I can't find space anymore on my notepad to write because you've shared so much insight. Nobody has shared so much insight. People online are actually commenting on insight, right? Let's just take a look at what is happening online. Let's see what people are saying, right? And we have Mr. Victor Malloy, who is joining us all the way from San Francisco. And this is what they had to say. So think global and act local. So think global, act local. And someone said that Michael Ado says going digital definitely presents a unique advantage and opportunity for Africa to also compete with the rest of the world.
Exactly.
Right? And I mean, from your point, talking about businesses, the government opening up infrastructures for internet, right? This will really be very relevant, right? And then, for an example, it continues that mobile usage in Africa went straight from 2G to 4G without passing the copper fixed line network usage very rapidly, giving the population access to internet. And we've seen that Stripe Masiyiwa of Econet, I think, is rebranded to Liquid Telecom, and Facebook and organizations across the world are trying to connect Africans to the entire world, right?
Yeah.
So these are insightful things going on around Africa, and I think that it is time that we all hop on the bandwagon. This is what I have to say. The future of Africa is here, or digital future of Africa is here. Where are Africans? Where are we? Right? At this point, I think I'd like to sign off from the call. Thank you so much, Mark, for being on the call. Thank you so much, Norbert. We'll be heading to the next session. Let's catch up on this conversation later, right? Let's have this running, and we're looking to do more of this, like to educate people, to educate Africans, particularly, especially about digital space on Africa, right? Because we need to build that capability and the capacity to exponentially improve Africans.
Yeah.
Any last words before you leave, Mark?
It was a pleasure for me to connect with my brothers in Africa right now, in Ghana particularly. If you guys ever find yourself in the Caribbean, in Haiti, please look for Banj. Contact me on Twitter, at MarkAllenB. Let's connect. I'm very happy to be here. I think the future of technology is with people, with numbers. Africa have the numbers.
That's
Jump
right.
on the boat, guys. And it will really be looking forward to connecting with you again soon.
Thank you very much, Mark. So happy to have you. No, but any last word before you leave?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just pick one of the few comments from the comment box. I think, is it Mark? Yeah, he said, think local, think global, and act local. Very, very, very important. I mean, some of us think global and try to act global, which doesn't work. So let's think global and think local so that we can create solutions that work within our space. Then we can mass scale it subsequently. Notwithstanding the opportunities that are available for the youth out there. So, I mean, if you feel left out, I mean, try and find yourself in any community, startup community, any any developer community around, just so that you can be part of that circle to attract some of the opportunities that are available to you. So, I mean, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Richard, for having me. It's been a pleasure talking to you all. Catch you when I catch you. Take care.
Thank you, Norbert. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Mark. We'll have to let you go here. We look forward to connecting, and let's keep the tweet active, right? See you around, Mark. Have a fun. Have a blessed one. Perfect. Thanks. So we're moving onwards to the next session. I think is the final panel session, and we'll be discussing the future of science in digitalization. Stay with me, stapled. Mind you, we are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Feel free to comment, share your reaction. Let us know what you're thinking about. Let us know what you've gotten out of this conversation. Are these comments insightful? Are this contribution, this narrative that's being churned out? Do they really make relevant impact, right? Let us know. Tweet at us at Beyond the Pandemic, hashtag Africa's Digital Future, hashtag Digital Times Africa, hashtag ADF 2021. This event is proudly brought to you by Digital Times Africa and supported by the Ghana Tech Lab. Right. In the next 28 seconds or 30 seconds, we'll be welcoming our panelists. I have with me Gamele Ajaho, Harry Akligo, and Dr. Thomas Tego. And with these fine, unique, beautiful, awesome individuals, we'll be examining the future of science in an era of digitalization. Stay with me. I'll be right back. Hello there and welcome to the last but not the least panel session. This is a virtual event which is spread across 2 days, and tomorrow we have more exciting panel discussion coming up. You don't want to miss any part of it. Like I said earlier, we are live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. Feel free to put comments. We are still on the Zoom. For participants on the Zoom, I realize that we have a lot of challenges with the Zoom. Please switch over to Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Join the conversation out there. I think those platforms are working well so far, so good. All right, let's have your comments. Let's have your reactions. Please share your comment reactions and use the hashtag Beyond the Pandemic ADF 2021. Hashtag ADF 2021. Good to have you, Doc. Good to have you, Gamali, and good to have you, Harry. Sincerely, if I want to go into the profile of these people, I might not end. So I'll let them introduce themselves briefly so that we can continue. All right, so I'm going to start with you, Doc. Doc, I think we can hardly hear you. Could you kindly speak out a bit? Still, I don't know if it's just me, but Harry, can you hear him? Gamile, can you hear him?
No, I'm struggling to hear him.
Yeah, we're all struggling to hear you.
Okay, let's try. I'll just speak up a bit louder. My louder up a bit. Is it a bit better now?
Almost there.
Almost there. All right. Okay. Well, let's hope this
it sounds
works.
perfect now. Thank you so much. This is great.
Okay, it's great now. Okay,
awesome.
Let's keep it at this volume then. All right. So yes. Myself, I'm Dr. Tego. I am a neuroscientist, researcher at the University of Ghana, but also a co-founder of GH Scientific, which is an organization that is built around developing capacity in individuals within the science, tech, engineering, and mathematics space. Do that through a lot of public engagement and outreach activities. All right.
All right, let's have you, Harry.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Really good to be here. My name is Harry Akligo. I'm a graduate student at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, where I'm pursuing a master's degree in molecular medicine. I research for the Open Bioeconomy Lab, a global lab based out of Cambridge here in Ghana, and also a co-founder of Hive Biolab, the very first open laboratory space in Ghana, trying to promote the usage of biology as a tool for driving social change in our community. Yeah, so that's about.
Hi, Gamale. I hope I'm not massacring your names. Forgive me if I do. But let's have you, Gamale.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Gamali Ajaho. My background is in environment and health. I currently work as a regional manager for Just One Giant Lab, which is a global digital platform that brings together people interested in research and innovation across the world. I lead the program, the regional program, which is focused on getting more African participation on the Jogo platform. I'm also the lead for Global Lab Network, which is an open science community which is focused on enabling STEM education and projecting science as a tool for development.
Okay, great. Can you hear me loud and clear? If yes, just nod. Perfect. All right, so let's kick this off, right? First, let's examine, right? What did the pandemic bring, or what change did the pandemic bring to the science space? Who would like to go first, Doc? Your sound has gone off again. Can you kindly help us with that?
Yes, sorry. There we go. All right, so the science space, what change did the pandemic bring? I think it probably brought one of the biggest changes within the space, because as many will be aware, research had to just become fast track, right? Everybody was looking for a vaccine to start off with, so processes that normally take years really just had to be done very quickly in the matter of weeks and months and so on. And this cut across not only on research, but also the communication of research findings, right? That really got changed. Anyone who was really trying to follow what was happening with our understanding of the vaccine and our understanding of the virus and the development of the vaccines will see that information was just really being churned out very quickly. So I'd say one of the largest or the greatest impacts that the pandemic introduced was putting scientific research in the fast lane. Just like everything needed to be happening quickly for the sake of saving lives. And it went just beyond those who are looking at understanding the virus, but then other processes in other areas of research were affected, and I'm sure we will talk about that a lot more as we go forward. All right.
Yeah, we will. We obviously will. Harry, can I get your comment or your contribution to this?
Yeah, so what I would personally say is that for the very first time in history, we have seen scientists working on the same topic globally, and that has to do with finding solution to the COVID pandemic, which I think has not happened in any recent time. So I think that is one of the great things that the pandemic has brought to bear in recent times. One of the other things that I personally had seen happen that the COVID brought to light is the emergence and the utilization of new technologies, particularly synthetic biology, which we do not hear much of in our parts of the world. But we have seen that this technology has a strong role to play in rapidly bootstrapping and helping us rapidly prototype a number of emerging solutions to some of the challenges we face in regards to COVID. And and I know majority of the people have heard about how the vaccine development occurs and how long it takes for clinical trials to be done with regards to vaccine before they are given to people who largely need them. But in record time, we have seen a lot happen, all because of these new tools that we see happen that are being developed in the scientific community. And I think that's one of the things that is worth mentioning that we have seen. Again, in coming down to Africa and also to Ghana, I want to say that
I think we are breaking up. Okay.
Yeah,
I think your internet was breaking up. You're back. Thank you. Let's
right,
hear
thank you. So I would want to say that zooming down to Africa and in Ghana, one of the things that we equally have seen is the conversations around how we can develop capacities to do our own research. I think that is one of the things that had happened to us with regards to COVID.
Great. Thank you very much for your contribution, Sari. Gamale, do you have anything to add to this before we move right to the next question?
Yeah, yes, indeed, I do. So yeah, Tom rightly said that the onset of the pandemic has kind of centralized science in a way that we've not seen before, because everybody was looking to science to deliver the solution. Even in the context of Just One Giant Lab, which is a platform I work for, one of the key things that we've done at the outset of the pandemic is to create a program called Open COVID-19, which basically sets different kinds of challenges for the global community to solve. So we are looking at things like personal protection, looking at things like ways where we can develop faster means of testing COVID, looking at things like how policy and data influence understanding of the pandemic and so on and so forth. So we've been able to mobilize the global community to solve the challenge. And so this, for example, is a demonstration of how we can work together as a human society to solve the problems that affect us in a collaborative manner. And this model appears to be one of the models that could be the future of science. But going beyond just solving the pandemic, I wouldn't necessarily be so upbeat about its effect on scientific research. Just like other human endeavors, the pandemic has slowed down the ability of people to come together. It has slowed down the ability of people to go to their labs to do their work. There are lots of PhD students and other researchers who have months of their work delayed because of the COVID pandemic. So it's not all rosy, it's not all positive at all. Also, in the developing world like Ghana, priority has focused so much on how do we improve the testing infrastructure, or how do we make vaccines accessible to people. And so we appreciate science, we see its value in solving the pandemic, but then we are unable to go forward with our national research agenda. You know, there are a lot of basic and fundamental things we need to do to improve research in Ghana, which is not happening. I dare say that the pandemic has negatively affected them. So I think that there have been some pluses in our ability to mobilize as a global community to solve problems, but there have been lots of negatives as well, which must be taken into consideration.
Thank you so much. I mean, that's great. Let's hear from your audience. If you have questions for this panelist, I mean, regarding the topic of discussion, right? The future of science and utilization. Let us know. Put them in the comment section, right? We would like to really get into this. Right before we continue, you guys have shared quite insightful one with regards to the future of science, right? And what change pandemic really brought on the science community. But then again, the question is, was this change good for the future of science in Africa? If yes, how so? If no, what could be better? Doc, would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. So sorry, you're asking if it will change for good the future of how science is done. Is that a question?
Yeah. So the changes that the pandemic brought, are they good? Right? If they are good, right, what does the future look like? Right? What benefits does it serve? If not, what could be changed to make sure that we have a dynamic future for science, for the space?
Right. Okay. Okay. That's great. Thanks for clarifying. I'm very mindful of what Gamali, shared right at the end about how some researchers have had their work really disrupted because of inability to move as much as we used to. But if we were to capture that in the short term impact, and then we try and see, well, long term wise, once there's a vaccine rollout and infection rates and deaths are reducing, I would say then the impact will be largely positive. And largely positive in sense of one, collaboration, but then also two, communication. And here's what I mean by that. The pandemic has now, because of the use of all these digital tools, people are looking more at collaborating, right? Collaborations have sort of like forcibly happened, and those can be maintained going forward to look at other research areas, not just to do with the virus and the vaccine. Then the communication part. So a very significant part of scientific research is, going to conferences and knowledge sharing, where someone up in Canada can go up to, I don't know, somewhere in Germany and attend a conference where people from Ghana and South Africa and Japan are all there. And then they can knowledge share, and we can all go back to our individual labs and work out from there. But now, because of the pandemic, and all these webinars, right, it's become almost a staple for these conferences to also be hosted online. So I personally, during the early few months of the pandemic, had the opportunity to attend a global gathering of neuroscientists, which typically was going to take place in Edinburgh, but it now went online. So, and it was designed for researchers all across the world to engage in these communications and become updated about globally what is happening. And since then, it's become a very staple. So I'll give another example. Sometime in October this year, Ghana will be hosting the Society of Neuroscientists in Africa conference. And previously, this conference was always, everybody has to hop on a plane, travel to the location, and be able to partake. But now we're having to do it with an online module where those who cannot travel can still present their work, can still engage. So you realize that the knowledge sharing angle is now going to become commonplace. So whereas restrictions that do you have money to finance yourself to go to this conference or not, these are going to become a bit lighter and a bit more lifted. So in the long run, two things I think will be be very positive for scientific research. That's the collaborative angle, and also communicating findings to whether the scientific audience or even the global audience at large. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc, for that. Thank you, Doc, for that. Communication and collaboration, right? Harry, what are your contributions to this?
Right. So I want to play a bad cop here. I think one of the things that the COVID pandemic has actually taught us has to do with our broken systems and lack of infrastructure to do a number of things, right from detecting or diagnosing and being able to adequately provide timely evidence to evolving organisms that we see as a threat to public health in our system. We do not have what it takes to be able to do that, because usually the first point of every infection is the community, and unfortunately we do not have the right systems. We do not have the right infrastructure within hospitals that serve as the first point of call to any community-based transmission. So I think one of the things that the pandemic has brought is the lack of the infrastructure at this point to provide primary health care, also as a means of detecting infection whenever they hit these places. And I think as a country or as a continent, one of the things the pandemic has also made us realize is the lack of data to understand some of the things that we are facing. So we should, as a continent and as a country, be able to know if we are going to have any pandemic. And I think during the course of this pandemic, we had heard of some outbreak of meningitis in the northern part of the country. Why should that be happening? It is because as a country, we are not learning. We do not have adequate national data on some infectious diseases that we have as a country, as a way of tracking the downturns of these infections. So we really have a fragmented system in terms of structure, policy to ensure a level playing ground to enable us be a step ahead for some of these infectious diseases. And I think that's one of the things that it had brought to bear. With regards to this COVID infection pandemic and any other infection that we may possibly be seeing.
Thank you, Ari. You've mentioned quite a lot of issues there, and that's really depressing to know that we had to face some of these challenges, like issue with data, issue with infrastructures. Gamile, right before I jump onto you, would you like to comment on this before I jump onto the next one? Because I have quite an interesting one to ask you guys because of what Harry has just mentioned and what Doc particularly made mention of. Right, Gamile, do you want to share something?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there are lots of lessons to be learned from our experience with the COVID pandemic. There are lessons indeed, but as to whether we can really draw on those lessons and use what we've learned from them positively in order to have a long-term positive impact, that is another question. I mean, there are two main points I can pull from Harry and Tom's comments. On one hand, Harry is talking about the fact that there are broken systems.
I can hardly hear you here.
Hello? I can hear you. I don't know if you can hear me. Is it better now?
Yeah,
on the one hand, Harry was talking about the fact that we have broken systems which cannot support, we don't have the infrastructure to be able to support a system for solving the problems and challenges that we face. And on the other hand, Tom was talking about the fact that increased use of digital technologies, which has been necessitated by the COVID pandemic, is going to change the way that people approach how science is done. So like there are different lessons, there are different possibilities, there are different challenges that we are looking at. So we have to be able to pool the knowledge that we are building to be able to design new systems that can respond to these challenges. So for example, if we need to invest into science and research, in a way that provides all the structures, all the systems, all the resources that we need using a traditional format. I'm sure politicians will be talking about the fact that we don't have budgets, we don't have the money and all of that. That would be one challenge. However, there are lots of possibilities that we can explore when it comes to, for example, using technology to kind of redefine the workflow as far as research is concerned. Use of technology to redefine workflow will have a very positive impact on how science is conducted. This will be limited, of course. We still need to address some fundamental issues, or we still need to address some issues within the physical location. So I think that there's a whole lot to think about. The answer to this question is not very simple, very straightforward. But as human beings, yes, we can maintain a positive disposition and a positive mindset to see what's the best scenario, or what are the best possibilities that we can take going forward.
Okay, Gamale, thank you so much for those insightful contributions. I'm pretty much sad, but I like that we are learning from our experiences, right? Let me just quickly chip this in, right? Kindly do not forget to put in your questions and your contributions on the comment section around on all our social media platforms where we are live on. We'd like to hear from you. What do you think? Are we doing anything different? Are we doing the things right to get science up at its game in the front of digitalization, right? Let me ask this, and I think because our time is fast spent, I was going to delve into the issues that Harry mentioned. But then again, before we get into the issues, I think Gamale addressed a couple of them and what we need to do, right? Lack of data, not learning, structures, policies, those are all issues, right? What can we do to move out of those spaces, right? Do we need another pandemic? Do we need another pandemic to get us out of this? Do we need another pandemic? What can we do relatively now, right, towards the future of science in the digital era? What can we do? Doc?
Yeah, so short answer, do we need another pandemic? No. If you don't learn what you need to learn from pandemic number one, you will not learn it in pandemic number two. You will probably just die out instead. So that's the simple bit. What can we learn from it? And this will be, I think this will touch a bit on Harry's sort of like problems that he defined, and also a bit on Gamali's answer, which is science thrives on money. You don't have money, you can't do
okay.
And it just so happens that many African countries, this is not exclusive to Ghana, don't do so well when it comes to funding science. If I was to say, what can we learn from this? What could be the one opportunity that we can take advantage of? Is this. In other parts of the world, I can speak for the UK first and maybe America, which is to say you have your charities, these non-governmental organizations that actively raise funds to finance research. So you may have, for example, a cancer research institute where a large part of their funding will come from donations from individuals and organizations. And we see here in Ghana, for example, that a public fund was started by the government to try and raise money to do one thing or the other. Whatever drama surrounds that is not what we are discussing. But what could be looked at is could be a very right point for a credible organization to be born out, which reaches out to the public and says, hey, you see how you lost 3 members of your family to the COVID pandemic? Well, if you donate 500 cities every month to us, we can help fund Wagbip or Noguchi, and they can do more research in this to ensure that when the next pandemic comes around, we are better equipped. This would be the perfect time where you can really connect to people about how lack of research funding can lead to direct impact on their life and death. And that could be a good way to bridge that funding gap for people. And then some of your earlier sessions you were doing you had, some one from like e-transact, right? Was talking about
Yeah.
how you can move money around quickly. This would be a perfect time to then take advantage of these tools that allow tracking, secure transfer of money to then be able to finance credible organizations that will then finance credible researchers, right? And then this way we're taking advantage of the clear and present danger that the pandemic presented and pigging back off of that to be able to finance research to better equip us for whatever comes ahead.
Thank you. Harry, your comments? Harry, I can hardly hear you.
Muted.
Okay,
Sorry.
perfect.
So what I'm going to say is not too far from what Dr. Tego had said. It has to do with the fact that the developer community should stop going in for the low-hanging fruits. I think I borrowed this term from one event organized on how digital technologies can be leveraged in overcoming some challenges, health challenges in Africa. I think most of the time, the developer community are focused on building more digital health solutions, ones where you are requesting the services of a health practitioner somewhere, ones that are requesting you that you are just basically using to consult somebody somewhere. I think right now we should have the developer community teaming up with researchers to identify solutions and that are targeted towards the research and development pipeline. There are a number of things in there that when we have good digital solutions developed towards, I think we are going to be in a better position to be a step ahead of any infectious diseases, trust me, because we have people who are developing solutions that are identifying the next vaccine candidates, that are identifying the next drug candidates for developing vaccines and all that. We do not have any of such things happening on our continent. Even in Ghana, a lot of the solution, tech solution or digital tech solutions we see, I mean, you know what I'm talking about. And it sometimes really gets me sad that we do not have the right collaborations occurring between experts to actually bet really time-tested solutions. The other thing we should be focusing on is how do we define the right funding models to support and scale startups that are focused on biology. We do not have enough such things. And if you go to the solutions we are seeing right now for the vaccines in the US and in the UK, majority of them are biotech startups. Unfortunately, we do not have any of such solutions on the African continent. We have very few of them, but they require some level of funding. Unfortunately, we see a lot of funding going into digital solutions, the fintech and all, just to mention a few of those. We need to see a lot of investment getting into our research institutions. We have very brilliant scientists that are interested in starting startups, but we do not have any of that happening. And I think to position us in the future to overcome some of these challenges, as we are seeing with COVID, we need the right funding. We need to push a lot of people to start biotech startups to address some of these challenges that we have and those we will see in the future.
Just one giant lab. Gamali, talk to us, please.
I think that both Harry and Tom have come out with some really interesting ideas that can really help us way forward. Innovation in financing is very important. Capacity strengthening and enabling collaboration is also highly important for us to be able to move forward. I have been involved, and Harry has been involved in the open science movement over the past few years. And what open science does is to help to bring down some of these barriers that we are talking about by fostering interdisciplinary collaboration, right? And also promoting greater use of digital technology to help scientists across the world to be able to solve their problems faster, but also at the same time make science more responsive to the needs of the community, so that the problems that are being tackled are indeed problems that are more important to the community. I mean, when you were talking about the fact that we might have, should we have another pandemic, I keep saying that we are already having other big and serious problems that have already been there before COVID and will be there after COVID. Climate change, for example, is one. We are talking about even the problems we are having with pollution in Ghana, like pollution of our water bodies. Air pollution, for example, kills like 7 million people around the world annually. So there are big local and big global problems that we have to be very frightened about them. We have to solve them and not wait for an infectious disease just because of how fast it will take away everybody, in order to begin to solve them. And one of the solutions, of course, is use of innovation. Like Harry said, the tech and the science communities have to come together to be able to figure out new ways of developing innovations to address the challenges that we face. And of course, I work for Just One Giant Lab, which is also a platform which is centrally geared at creating another pathway to doing science and research, which is that how can we bring experts, how can we bring ordinary people, how can we bring enthusiasts from around the world on the same platform, give them opportunities to exchange skills, give them opportunities to share learnings from their various projects. Within the context of the COVID crisis, for example, we've created systems where we have been able to award micro grants to various organizations around the world that allow them to be able to build prototypes and test some of the solutions they've developed. This is very important in areas where people do not have access to funding, for example. We've also pioneered a system for doing reviewing projects, which is an important characteristic of science, which is peer review. We've been able to create a system where people who are on our platform can be able to review each other's projects, and then our system is able to rank which are the best projects in terms of their relevance and their impact. So ideas like Jogo, and I mean there are tons of other innovative ideas and ways of working. For example, the open bioeconomy lab model that Harry represents. These types of innovative ideas are very important in transforming science and creating new pathways where we are able to deliver the solutions to some of the most challenging problems of our times.
Thank you very much, Harry. Thank you so much. Those are insightful contributions from all of you, right? We need to sponsor scientists more, right? Like Doc was said, science thrive on money. I think that should be a tweet. That should be a thread. Like, let's tweet that. Tweet that.
And,
Science
and ideas.
Oh, okay, on ideas, right? I mean, there are a lot of ideas revolving around the world, but then again, there are not enough funds to push these ideas, right? And Harry speaking about the collaboration, I mean, and Doc actually ties it in all, right? Collaboration and communication, right? So we don't have the digital skills expert or the developer expert community collaborating so much with the scientific community to help develop solutions around these areas. So we see people like chaining out money into the fintechs, and I mean, we want to bank the unbank and get more money into the system, but then again, we still need to solve health issues and health related problems, right? So these are some of the gray areas I think that you guys have mentioned, and it's true. These are insightful stuff. We need to look into them. I hope that people are actually taking thought to this and actually going to put their heads together, because we're looking at building the future of digital Africa, and this is what we need to do to make sure that we leverage on what we have to build a future for Africa, right? My last question before we go, because we are out of time, so far out of time, we're very sorry. We started quite early, but we had a couple of issues with the challenges with technology. But then again, it will be so unfair to have you guys drop off without asking this question, right? What can we do to train the next future or the next generation of scientists? I'm sure we don't want them waiting out to where they have a pandemic before they start running their hell holes to find solutions.
Well, I could go in first. I think that, it's very important to invest in education. There's been so much focus on primary and secondary education, but we also need to focus so much on tertiary education and also postgraduate education in Africa. We need lots of scholarship programs to support people who want to become scientists, to be able to study at the highest level. We need to create new types of educational programs which are interdisciplinary in nature. because the problems that come to heaters don't come wearing clothes. Oh, this is a physics problem, this is a chemistry problem, this is a sociology problem. The problems just come and the heaters anyhow. Like, for example, this COVID crisis. So we need to create lots more interdisciplinary programs that create people who have a wide array of skills to be able to solve this problem. And the final point I want to make is that we need to create avenues where people can actually practice their skills or create practical opportunities for people to be able to learn and test their skills as they develop, as they go through their learning processes. I think that these are things that many of us are working on, and so we need to encourage more of those types of things.
Doc, let's have your comments, your final words around this topic.
So you're asking how we can train the next generation of researchers, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to paint you a scenario, and I think anybody who hears that scenario will be able to get an answer for themselves. I did my PhD training at the University of Leicester in the UK. It took me 4 years. For 3 out of those 4 years, I was on a scholarship. I was funded. Meant there was a budget for everything I needed to buy to do my research. And I was also on a stipend, what you can call a salary. So what this meant was that when I wake up in the morning, it wasn't a 9 to 5, but for purposes of arguments, let's say 9 to 5. When I wake up in the morning, 9 o'clock, I check into the lab. 5 p.m., I check out of the lab. That's what I do all day, every day, 7 days a week, including weekends. And this was how I was trained. Now, let's come to Ghana. I have MPhil students. So you do an MPhil just shy of a PhD. Okay. For many such students at the University of Ghana, at least in the departments and the school where I am, they are not doing this alone. They are also running full-time jobs whilst they are doing their MPhil. For even those who are not doing full-time jobs whilst doing their MPhil, they are not funded, which means they are paying their school fees, and they must also find money to finance the research that they are doing. Okay. There are very few isolated cases. And the few isolated cases are those that if you are in Ghana, you would be aware of, like WAGBIP, because they have money to finance their researchers and to also pay them a little something. Now put those two categories next to each other. And with that, let's ask the question again. How can we train the generation of researchers?
I think we have our answer. We need more money. That's all it is.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean that's where it boils down to. Yeah.
Harry, your final words.
I think
a study of the biolab. What you guys do at biolab? Let us know what is happening.
Yeah, so that's the approach I was going to take. I think we need more community-based laboratories built on open science. People decide to call it biohacking spaces. People want to call it DIY biohacking. I think we need community spaces like this to augment the skills training aspect, which is most often than not lacking within the university. Yes, we have laboratories in the university, but because of the whooping number of students, they are unable to have the hands-on practicals that they need. And most of the time, the final touch is still more theoretical than practical. And if you are going to raise the next generation of scientists to actually raise basic science questions and provide good scientific solutions to these questions, it is very important that we look at the practical aspect of it, which I believe that we can only achieve with good laboratory training. And I think the upspring of community laboratories like the Hive Biolab is one platform to do that aside the focus on research. So I think we need to see independent researchers wanting to establish their own research labs outside of the university. It could be in the university, but we need to have some level of flexibility. And I think we have like faculties on the core who very much understand that. As a young student, when I was in the university doing during my undergraduate. It was such a challenge having access to labs to even study some of the things that I was doing. But if you have laboratories where anybody within the community have access, they are able to raise their own questions and provide answers to them. And that is the first step to becoming a scientist. Your ability to raise questions and your ability to solve them makes you a scientist. You don't need to necessarily go through the formal. Yes, of course, having to go through the formalized way of becoming a scientist actually add some credentials to you, but everybody is a scientist as far as you can raise questions and have a platform to do that. It's what distinguishes you from somebody who is just a theoretical scientist, so to say. And I think what we need now as a continent is people who are able to raise questions and have platforms to do them. And I think we need spaces like the Hive Biolab to do that. And I want to, at this point, say that we will welcome anybody who wants to become a scientist to just contact us, and we are really happy to help you get there.
All right, thank you, Harry, for your final words. Those are great insights. We really appreciate your time, and we are very much privileged to have hosted you on this event. Right, we look forward to furthering conversations around science and the future in a digital era. Right, because there are so many challenges in the scientific space, and I think that we are very much positioned. I think Digital Times, which is a proud partner or sponsor of this event, is very much positioned to accelerate scientists, businesses, innovators, right? We look forward to doing that. So I'm sure that we're going to be reaching out for further collaborations, right? To stay in touch. We'll be in touch, right? Thank you very much. This is all time will allow us on this panel session. So much insightful contribution. By the way, the very foremost thing I got out of it is science thrives on money. Tweet that. Science thrives on money and on ideas. All right. So please don't get me wrong. Science thrives on money and ideas. Right? You get it right. You get the right idea. We need money to fund it. Then again, it's a privilege to have hosted everyone who has joined us by Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, even those who were unprivileged to have enjoyed the issues with the Zoom. Right, we are very much grateful that you joined. We really apologize for some of these challenges, and we look forward to solving them. Again, my name is Richard Joseph, just for clarity. And tomorrow we'll continue with the next panel sessions. And it's a long schedule. Don't miss out. We're having 4 interesting, unique, dynamic panels. You don't want to stay out of this. You want to join us live tomorrow. I'm sure, very much sure, that by tomorrow we would have solved every challenge with regards to the streaming and everything, right? We look forward to having you tomorrow. And final words before I leave you, a couple of comments in the session. Let me just share that. So, wow, I love some of the insight people are sharing there. Let me put that on the screen, right? This is very exciting. Thanks to all panelists, right? The future of science, it's great. Thank you, Mr. Malloy, for joining us all the way from San Francisco, Texas. I hope I got that right. Who else put a comment in there? Very happy to be part of this. We very much appreciate your participation, Michael. We really look forward to having you tomorrow. Looking forward to tomorrow. Very well. We'll be here tomorrow. We'll be here to bring you all the live updates around the future of Africa's digital space, right? This all time will allow, we'll probably have to draw the curtains here. My name again is Richard Joseph, and this was powered by, or this event is powered by Digital Times Africa, right? And proudly supported by the Ghana Tech Lab. That's all we have to, we can allow. We're going to bring you insights and share with you some of the dynamic contributions that was shared today on this panel tomorrow as highlights. And after which, we will dive straight into the panel. Let me just give you a brief insight, right? Tomorrow, we'll welcome in some people talking about the future of finance. And we had Dr. Tom talk about financing, right? How to finance the scientific enclave, right? I'll look at the future of digitalization, where it affects the youth and education, right? These are all things we're going to be looking into. So at this point, I'll be signing out. Thank you so much for joining me, for joining my team. We are very much privileged to have hosted you. To all our guests, to all the panelists who joined, the moderators, we say thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a blessed evening. Catch you up tomorrow. Bye. Bye bye.